Hi, I'm Nick Palmisano,
Je suis Matt Finney.
and this is the Bad News Network. Well, we had a presidential debate this week, and it was a doozy.
You're a doozy.
What?
This is the worst opening to a show you've had since every other opening.
Hey, why don't you use a foreign language to say your name again, you unoriginal piece of shit?
Oh, I'm sorry. Did that detract from you just monologuing on and on? Because no one gives a shit.
You're just mad because you're too stupid to monologue.
I'm stupid? I got your college transcripts, and you got a C in Arabic first semester sophomore year.
It was a C+, and Arabic is hard. At least I used my head for more than just getting punched.
For a guy who's talking about using his head, maybe you should teach your youngest how to read.
He's 5 and he's reading great. Don't you talk about my family. Your kid's on meth.
I don't have a kid, so shut up.
When you do have a kid, I'm gonna hook him on meth. So you have a meth head kid.
That's as up as you were at the Army-Navy game in Philadelphia.
Bad things happen in Philadelphia.
Everyone knows you're a liar.
Gentlemen, please! Shut the up. I'm not here to debate both of you. Matt Care sucks.
You have no plan for healthcare.
Please, you agreed to the rules.
I'll Carlton Fisk you with the Louisville Slugger if you mention the rules again. And you, maybe you should spend less time on the golf course and more time writing scripts.
You probably golf more than I do, you lowbrow Bostonian piece of shit. I'm surprised your name isn't Sully.
What'd you say about Sully? That's just a dog whistle to generate racist hate and division against the Irish.
You've treated the Irish community as bad as anyone, just by being a part of them.
Yeah, well, you don't know the suburbs.
I literally live in the suburbs.
Are you willing to condemn, right here, right now, Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers?
Yes, I think the world needs to know that they're dirty traitors.
Then do it, sir.
Do it then. Say it.
You want me to call them? What do you want me to call them? Give me a name.
The proud former Patriots player boys.
Proud former Patriots players, boys, stand back and stand by.
Racist! Vote this guy out. If he doesn't get the votes, he doesn't get the power.
I didn't realize there was an election for BNN, but I'll tell you this. It's gonna be a fraud unlike anything you've ever seen.
How are you gonna sit there? If you don't just sit... That's a... Listen, man. Are you gonna sit there and let this... Will you shut up, man?
I think the BNN audience would be better served if we allowed both people to speak with fewer interruptions. I'm appealing to you, sir, to do that.
And him too.
Well, frankly, you've been doing more interrupting.
You.
Yeah, you.
Both of you.
It's 2 a.m. Friday morning right now as we film this BNN, and we just found out that the president has been diagnosed with COVID-19, as has the First Lady. The president has decided to stay at the White House in quarantine with the First Lady. We hope they both recover quickly.
I first have to apologize for butchering every name in this report. With that said, here we go. A conflict that has been continuing since the Cold War between Armenia and Azerbaijan has had a giant uptick in violence over the past few weeks. This week, violence erupted in the region of Nagorno-Karabakh, a place that has been contested forever. It's internationally recognized as part of Azerbaijan, but it's governed by majority Armenians. It's also partially recognized as the Republic of Artsakh. In summary, it's an absolute clusterfuck. While the occasional skirmish is not uncommon, there has been a giant increase in violence lately. Recently, both sides have accused each other of targeting and killing civilians. The Armenian president tweeted out that they shot down a number of UAVs, helicopters, and destroyed some tanks. Both sides have declared martial law. Turkey has publicly pledged its support to Azerbaijan, while Russia still mainly supports Armenia. Casualties have been rising on both sides, and there are protests in the street of Azerbaijan chanting, "Kurds, Persians, Armenians, they are enemies of Azerbaijan, Karabakh is ours." It's unclear right now exactly how many civilian casualties have been incurred on both sides, but one thing is certain, this fight is not being fought by Queensberry rules. The US and other prominent countries have called for Armenia and Azerbaijan to come to an immediate ceasefire. If things heat up further, the possibility looms of conflict between Russia and Turkey. Both Armenia and Azerbaijan have been stoking animosity by releasing combat footage across social media platforms. Obviously, neither side's posts were well received. We'll see how this plays out as reports continue to come in.
The internet is abuzz that the president paid $750 for taxes the last few years, according to the New York Times. That part is not necessarily a big deal. If you don't own a business, you don't necessarily understand how losses or gains can affect your tax rate. Additionally, if you own things like a bunch of vehicles or homes or buildings or equipment, then there's the opportunity for depreciation of assets, which also affects your taxes. Accounting is boring and I don't want to talk about it, so I will do it as simply and quickly as possible in order to do my job that I don't get paid for. Imagine you own a business. In year one, you lose $100,000. You literally empty your bank account to keep your business afloat. The next year, you make $20,000. You pay no taxes that year because you had a $100,000 carryover loss. You now have $80,000 to carry forward. The next year, you make $50,000. Again, you pay no taxes. Now you carry forward $30,000 because $100,000 loss minus $20,000 gain minus $50,000 gain is 30 grand. The third year, you make $100,000. You're only going to pay taxes on $70,000 because $100,000 gain minus $30,000 carryover is $70,000 in profit. Now, before all you accountants jump in, I know it's a lot more complicated than that. Before 2018, you could look back 2 years and actually retroactively change things like the president apparently did, or look forward 20 years. Now, you can't look back at all, but you can look forward infinitely. But even though you can look forward infinitely in any given year, you can only write off 80% of your income. Then there are a bunch of exceptions. Super boring stuff. But the president lost a metric ton of money back in the day, so he has to make a metric ton before he has to start paying taxes in any meaningful way again. The other thing that helps him is that he invests in lots of things that depreciate. When you buy a building, you can generally write off the cost of it over a period of 27.5 years or 39 years. The president owns lots of real estate worth billions of dollars. So he basically gets to write off 127.5 is it 0.5? I don't know. 1 over 27.5 every year or 1/39th every year for his properties, depending on how he has everything structured. This is also going to significantly reduce his taxes. So between those two things, carryover losses and depreciation, this guy probably hasn't paid a lot of taxes in a very long time. If you don't like that, talk to Congress. They make the rules. That's not to say that there isn't stuff that's concerning. There absolutely is, especially because the president hasn't released his taxes. According to the New York Times, the president allegedly owes $400 million in debt. And some people believe it's possible he owes as much as $1 billion off the books. That isn't necessarily an issue if he has the cash flow to pay those debts. But it is a major issue if he doesn't have it. As most of you know, as a regular person, you can't even get a TS clearance if you have a lot of debt. Why? Because it's a string that's really easy for bad actors to pull on in order to get you to do what they want. If the president really owes $500 million and doesn't have the money to pay those debts, then he could easily be influenced by Russia or China or anyone else to the detriment of the United States. That is something that everyone should be concerned about. I'm absolutely not making that accusation for total clarity, but of all the accusations from the New York Times and others that I've read, I don't really care about his carryover losses. I don't care about his depreciation. I don't care that he wrote off haircuts. I don't care that he paid his daughter. I don't care about any of that stuff. I do care that he might be carrying a massive amount of debt that could put him in the pocket of, an evil power.
Lately, California has found itself laden with mass layoffs, wildfires, earthquakes, droughts, exoduses, kids out of school, and parents out of work. So this week, California Governor Gavin Newsom signed a law that prompts California corporations to make directors of anyone who is a minority or from the LGBTQ community. The law is based on one signed by former Governor Jerry Brown in 2018. That one specified that corporations had to hire women executives. This new law says that corporations have until 2021 to put this into effect. Additionally, if your corporation has more than 4 directors, you need more than 2 LGBTQ or minority directors on that board. More than 9? You need 3. Companies that don't comply will be hit with fines ranging between $100,000 and $300,000. The original law in 2018 was challenged as unconstitutional but was dismissed by a federal judge. It's likely this law will go through the same process. The argument was that the law actually promoted what it was designed to curtail, but the federal judge did not agree with that. In short, let the government tell you how to run your business or they'll beat the money out of you. United and American Airlines have furloughed 32,000 employees, maintaining their spot at the top of the list for shittiest airline ever, right up there with Malaysia Airlines and that plane with Richie Valens in it.
The heart of a long-dead Belgian mayor was found in a lockbox buried under a fountain. The former mayor of Verviers, Pierre David, died in 1839. He passed away quietly in his pajamas when he fell from a tall building, but his heart was buried under the fountain, which apparently was a thing that they did back then. The heart has long been a legend for the city of Verviers, but only that. No one really believed it. Ever since the box was found, though, the myth has become truth. The skies have darkened, the rivers run red with blood, and snakes crawl from the ether. The heart is being held in a museum until renovations on the fountain are completed. Then the heart will be returned to its resting place, and the curse will be lifted. When asked her opinion, the museum's deputy curator, because apparently the actual curator had something better to do, said, "The heart wants what the heart wants." Oh ho ho, oh ho ho ho.
A Massachusetts man died of a black licorice overdose. His death came just weeks after making the decision to switch from red licorice to black licorice, a decision that I don't think any sane man would make. The man reportedly ate a bag of black licorice every day, which he would then wash down with a Diet Coke to watch his girlish figure. The candy contains something bad that makes your potassium levels drop. This can cause irregular heartbeats. The FDA warns that if you're over 40 and you eat 2 ounces of licorice every day for 2 weeks, you could end up in the hospital, which is a really weird bit of data for somebody to know. Must have been a slow day in the scientific community when that project was pitched. Anyways, some people have mourned the man's death, while others have simply declared that licorice is now racist, and that henceforth, licorice shall no longer be called red or black licorice, but simply the Massachusetts death candy. That's a play on the Redskins Washington football team name. That's why it's funny.
The First Lady is in lukewarm water after her friend Stephanie Winston Wolkoff secretly taped her bitching about having to decorate the White House over Christmas. On the recording, she asks, "Who gives a about this Christmas stuff?" A lot of media sources have also hit her with not caring about the children at the border. But if you actually listen to the longer version of the recording, it shows that she went down to the border to try to reunite children with their parents and hit the oppressive bureaucracy of the United States of America face first. Anyone that's ever worked for the government knows and loves that bureaucracy. Everyone else just doesn't know how to take the pain. This feels like a nothing burger unless you really care about the First Lady being pissed about having to put up ornaments at the White House. Not exactly the Wolkoff home run that the media wanted. Also, who tapes their friends? I don't even tape my enemies. It's such a dickhead thing to do. Don't buy this woman's book, let her fizzle out. And as for the First Lady, Clark Griswold is very disappointed in you, madam.
Ongoing research on Mars has led researchers to find a number of salty ponds on the red planet. After identifying what they thought was a large lake under the southern ice caps of Mars, researchers have found a number of smaller surrounding lakes. They believe the lakes have been able to stay in liquid form by being super saline, or as regular people call it, really salty. Saltier than an Atlanta Falcons fan after blowing a 28-3 lead in the Super Bowl. Why does any of this matter? With the possibility of water on Mars comes the possibility of life with it. There are currently a number of hypotheticals of how life survives on the harsh conditions of Mars. Mostly scientists are betting that there are microorganisms that have adapted and now live in the salty ponds of Mars. Or as smart people are calling them, marshes. This week marked the 1-year anniversary of one of the dumbest decisions by a human being, when one of the dumbest motherfuckers in Texas decided it was a great day to try and mug the Reaper, Nicholas Irving. For those of you subterranean rock dwellers, Nick Irving is best known as the Reaper for his storied career in the 3rd Ranger Battalion as a sniper. Apparently this puppy shit soft would-be criminal rolled up on Irving to try and liberate him of his personal effects. This was decidedly not a good idea. Rather than sending him to the fiery depths of hell, his Reaperness decided just to subdue him, called the police, waited for the Leo to show up, and cart him off to the clink. Seasons may not fear the Reaper, but for damn sure criminals should. Here's to you, Nick.
And finally, in Florida Man news, police reported to a scene where a man said his neighbor kicked in the door and robbed his home while he was away. When police arrived, 39-year-old Robert Hoskins, wait, his name is Bob Hoskins? That dude was great in Who Framed Roger Rabbit and Hook. Hoskins told them simply, "I was mad, man. I f***ed up." Apparently, Hoskins had asked his neighbor to borrow some clothes. Not exactly a sugar request, but hey, it's Florida. When his neighbor declined, Hoskins waited for him to leave, then kicked in his front door, stole a bunch of clothes, and ransacked his house. The neighbor came back to Hoskins still in the house, so he called the local deputies. When deputies arrived, Hoskins, who was now only wearing underwear for some reason, waved a Bible at the deputies and said, "I condemn you!" and then threw the Bible at them, hitting one deputy square in the face. A real Bible thumper, that guy. As the saying goes, Hoskin called down the thunder and then he got it. Mostly the lightning, though. Deputies smited Hoskin with 50,000 holy bolts and then cuffed him. Once in cuffs, Hoskin crapped himself and then asked to speak to the deputy. When any deputy came up to him, Hoskin stared the man straight in the face and farted. Hoskins is charged with burglary, petty theft, criminal mischief, property damage, battery on an officer, and resisting an officer without violence. When asked why he did it, Bob simply said, "God made me do it." Holy guy. Even God has days. And with that, I'm Nick Palmisano.
And I'm Matt Finney.
And this is the Bad News Network. Our news is at least as bad as the news you're getting already, and I just want to say that the Patriots are having a nice little season without Tom Brady so far. I also want to remind you that you can always get 25% off at rangerup.com when you use the code BNN. And Matt and I got our first donation on OnlyFans. OnlyFans Nick and Matt, $5. Woo! If we get to $1,000, then I don't know what we're going to do, but that'd be cool. Have a great weekend.